Neutral is a conversation. You might have heard this phrase before. I love it. This comparison is key to effectively understanding the nuances of neutral game. A conversation can't happen without more than one person after all. Neutral is vaguely defined as the point in the game where neither player has a distinct advantage. Both players are equally threatening to the other. There are two general strategies at this phase. You can either ignore it entirely and go straight into whatever your game plan is, like a gorilla with no respect for the other player, or you can slow down and respectfully consider the options the other player has to offer and engage in this tug of war between your characters until someone lands a solid hit. The second is generally regarded as the right way to play. In this state of mind, you are working to manage risk and choosing your options carefully. You might not know how to respond to the other person when they offer you a new situation, or you're not sure how to approach someone you're not familiar with. You might be trying to drag out a lead as far as you can, or you might be dancing within an inch of your life. This can take forms such as what's called footsies and pokes, or using the space you have to retreat to goad the other person into attacking without putting yourself at risk. The key is to look for tells in your opponent's play that you can react to accordingly. Most of the time, the actions taken, the words used, can feel very small and non-committal. Single jabs and swings, 1 step forward, 2 steps back. A lot can be said about how you view the game if you think this looks boring or intense. If you do think it's boring, you probably resonate with our first player instead. The gorilla, Unga Bunga, sometimes called Layer 1, implies you haven't been forced to consider or you don't care about the risk of your play and you gamble in order to start your game. You think your opponent simply won't react to your next move in time due to all the factors in play. This player is proactive instead of reactive. Most zoners and rushdown players work like this, shooting first and asking questions later. You're using a strong, direct flowchart. You've snuffed out a pattern to punish. You just really want to land the round start potbuster. Or you think the change in the pace of the game will open up the other player to your attacks. One isn't strictly better than the other. They won't tell you that in the tutorials or in videos. The reason you play neutral is because you're looking for a relatively safe, consistent way in. If the opponent doesn't know how to challenge your approach, then you could just kick the door down and barge in like you own the place. That door kicking then sets the standard for what neutral will look like with your opponent. Some people call that skipping neutral, cutting ahead of us honest, hard-working, God-fearing gamers and pushing us around with their gimmicks. They have no need for the small talk that is footsies, and they want to get straight into what they think is the meat of the conversation. If you can't recognize and shut down the aspect of the character or player that's denying your decision-making, you'll get steamrolled and you'll feel powerless to do anything about it. The key is to stop talking down what's clearly an effective strategy against you and to take it seriously. We need to understand that something like Nago Spin or Chaos Steady Aim is a part of their neutral. This is how the character is built, and it's our responsibility to handle that, not to blame other people for how they act towards us. If we cannot react to what is happening, then we need to scale our reactions back to what sets up the thing that we cannot react to. As an example, instead of asking why Dolphin is so broken, I should ask what kind of situation Mei uses Dolphin in, and to either avoid it or make Dolphin as hard to use as possible by being reactive to the previous situation, being non-committal rather than being proactive, and setting up my zoning in a tight spot where Dolphin can just barely reach. I was the gorilla all along. The player we're so frustrated with could be incredibly skilled and layering their play so far above our understanding that it can feel impossible to get more than a jab in here or there. They could also be similar to a child who just found a really cool toy and they want everyone to see it. Instead of an action figure, it's a really good poke or a mix-up. There could be very little foundation beneath this barrage of pressure that's frustrating us so much. Maybe if you give that person the slightest tap in just the right way, with some patience, they'll fall into your game and you won't need to do a thing. The only way we'll be able to tell the difference is if we stop whining at them to listen to us and to start talking to them properly. I mean to play the game. Remember, this is a 2-player genre. You probably have a lot of similar and impactful tools and tactics that would frustrate other players. Slow down and respond to what the other person is telling you. You might eat a fat counter hit. It might be a frame trap, or you might find out that they're overextending. Once you understand the first layer of their plan, the real game can begin. They will have to respond to your responses by changing the pace of their decision-making. They might start to swing on the ground instead of jumping after May Dolphin since you've air grabbed them previously. They might be reluctant to proactively throw a fireball after you've jumped in on them over it, choosing to reactively anti-air instead. Rather than pulling the lever to the slot machine and assuming you'll just let them try whatever they want, they will have to recognize the nuances of the risk and the reward of their choices. Once that happens, the tug of war can begin, allocating different mental resources in order to react to different threats your opponent offers you, or being proactive and shutting those threats down before they can begin. Remember that you can only keep track of so many habits to react to at once. If they understand that you understand their layer 1, they can play off of your own assumptions of their proactive threats, and mix you up if you commit too strongly on reacting to a single aspect of their play. Show your opponent in everything they're capable of some respects, but only some. You will have to play neutral, and neutral is a conversation.